Okay, it says watch stream. The hell? Okay, there we go. Yeah.
We're gonna. This nigga is crazier than fuck. You know what I'm saying? But same, like, yo, he meant out, right? And it fucks me up because he's right. You ever crazy?
Yeah, it depends on what type of crazy. I tell people I'm crazy, so it depends on what type of crazy we talk about. Because there are, and you notice there are different types of crazy. Like, are we talking fucking addict crazy? We talking, and we talking fucking bloodthirsty crazy.
Yo,
like, what
look, but we talking like this dude here legitimately thinks that the original people who came over from America, from Europe, were motherfucking running away from the race wars between the whites and the blacks because the blacks were the masters of the whites and the whites overthrew them in Europe in the 1700s.
What history has he ever? Never mind.
Look, real shit. Yo, we about to get into this. You know what I'm saying? We're about to get into this. But like, yo, legitimately, like, yo, you gotta listen to what this nigga says. Like, yo, he is on point with it though. Like, yo, this is what I'm saying. You ready? Let's do this shit.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely.
Entertaining movie that Chris Rock did a couple years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, called Top 5. I watched it about a couple months ago. I noticed a scene, and I saw that it was coming back on, so I DVR'd it. And Chris Rock is going to corroborate, or he's going to add his little testimony to a sentiment that I put out about a month or so ago about the film Planet of the Apes, showing you the spiritual aspect of the so-called black male. When he's kind of in his right mind, he can see things and understand things that other people cannot see. So now he's having a conversation with this.
Because black males are magic. We magic and shit. We're not live. We're recording the video. We're not doing this live. Okay. Like, my computer would literally melt down if I tried to live stream this.
I see the live button. That's why I asked. I'm like,
we're live between me and you. I'm sharing my screen with you right now. All right.
Cool.
All right. Remember, black people are magical. Okay. They can see things that other human beings can't see, right? Like, let's rock. Let's rock.
Liberal black female played by Rosario Dawson. And this film is going to show you a few things. It's going to show you, number one, that he understands what the film Planet of the Apes, so that series, is actually about. And it's also going to show you the conundrum that the so-called intelligent black male, quote-unquote, so-called black male, is in. The conundrum that he's in when trying to explain things to liberal black females. All right? Like I constantly say, it's you, black male, that is behind enemy lines, not them. Okay? They like this environment, even though most of them will try to protest. And I say the liberal black female does. All right? So-called black females that are watching this video, if you offended, it's probably because it's talking about you. Okay? But
let me keep this all the way 100 with you there, my nigga. I thoroughly like the way he put that. He said, if you were offended by this, he's probably talking about you. Like, that is some gangsta ass shit to just say. And like, this motherfucker got like 300,000 subs and shit on the channel too. That's the bitch. Like, he is really built. Like, this motherfucker, he legit, he has shit figured out, but he's batshit crazy. Let's rock. Let's rock. Hold up. Go ahead.
Here's my problem. I'm a black dude, and you probably hear me. Yeah. Because I know the types. I deal with them all the time, and like they act like. Most of them are below 30, ain't live life on that level. So, anyways.
Let's rock. God damn it. It better work. Okay, here we go. It's legitimately moving around like it's doing something.
Just watch how they interact. Watch her inability to understand what he's saying. And also watch the sentiment that she's trying to push on him in regards to the liberal nonsense.
Staring you right in the face, right? Every Planet of the Apes movie is about race. Everyone.
What?
He said every Planet of the Apes movie is about race. Everyone, because he understands that the apes represent the so-called black man.
What?
All right. The Planet of the Apes series is about the so-called Caucasians' fear of black rulership. Is based on his understanding of the previous so-called black rulership during the Middle Ages. All right, and it's also based on his understanding of the scriptures and what they actually prophesy about, which are prophecies that are not taught in the regular church system. These so-called elite Caucasians, they understand what the Bible's really saying and what it's actually talking about.
I mean, like during the Middle Ages, there was black rulership in Europe and shit. You know what I'm saying?
There was black leadership. First of all, the issue I have, I keep saying what? Because you have to specify people don't specify fucking claims and they don't specify errors. They say in the Middle Ages. You're literally talking over a 500-year period.
Like you're talking about like 1,000-year period.
Yeah, really, it's 1,000 years. But if you're talking specifically fiefdoms and kingdoms and shit, I'm just making it simplified for the people.
You're talking about the fall of Rome 400 until
476.
Yo,
until about
like fucking
the fall of Constantinople, which is about
really
14.
You're talking about like until the Enlightenment in the 400s.
No. The Age of Enlightenment was after the tail end or after the Renaissance. That's the 18th century.
You're talking about the beginning. The beginning of the Enlightenment starts with the beginning of the Enlightenment starts with the beginning of the Renaissance. With you know what I'm saying, like being fucking. I'm trying to think here. What the fuck was his name? Da Vinci and fucking Machiavelli and all these motherfuckers.
Okay, there. When it comes to the Renaissance, there's like three phases. So you had the early Renaissance, which is what you're referring to. Then you had the Reformation period, and then that tailed into the Age of Enlightenment, which is why you had John Locke and Adam Smith and such rise up. It goes in a natural progression. But when you're talking about the Middle Ages, quote unquote, you're talking, as you mentioned, the fall of Rome in 476 to the fall of Constantinople, and I believe it's 1453 or something along those lines.
Yeah, you're talking about like 1,000-year fucking period, and part of that's the Dark Ages, depending on which part of Europe you're in to begin with. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Like so all right, let's keep going because this gets way more fucking hilarious.
So that is their fear. All right. So now let's see how she responds when he says that the Planet of the Apes series is all about race. Let's see how she responds.
Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about the trilogy that starts off with Charlton Heston frolicking naked with a black astronaut.
Well, first off, the Planet of the Apes was not a trilogy. It was actually 5 films, so she's already wrong. But the film was written very well because it shows you that most of these liberal females, they don't know what they're talking about. Number one, they're more concerned about pushing their propaganda. But she said that it showed Charlton Heston frolicking with a black astronaut. You should see the original film. It actually is about 4 astronauts. It's three white males.
Yo, this motherfucker straight just disappeared.
It's buffering.
It ain't just buffering. This shit straight fucking disappeared. Like, yo, the whole screen disappeared on my shit.
The so-called Caucasian male.
Here we go.
A black male and a white female. All right, pardon me. It's 2 Caucasian males, a black male, so-called black male, and a white female. And they're basically on a journey to find life in outer space. They end up getting caught in a time warp. And their job is to populate whatever new planet they find. And when they get to the new planet, the Caucasian female is dead. So it's just the so-called black male astronaut with the 2 white male astronauts. The reason why they put the black male astronaut in the film is to try to throw off what the film was actually about. And that's a technique that they will often do in Hollywood films, Hollyweird films. They'll often throw a black character in the film that you don't really understand why he or she is in the film, particularly he. You don't understand why he's in the.
Like, yeah, man. Fucking, You gotta understand, they're literally trying to hide what the film's about by using black males inside of the film, my brother.
It can't be actual representation of humanity. It can't be that we actually wanted people to actually be actors in a positive light. Oh, isn't Planet of the Apes? And I haven't watched the original films, but I know about the new trilogy, which has nothing to do with race, by the way. But which I love that trilogy, by the way. But isn't it based off an actual like book or something?
I think it might have been back in like the fucking 50s or 60s, but even then it legitimately was about race. But that's not the fucking point, right?
Right.
I mean, like it legitimately was a take on fucking race, you know what I mean? Because like it was
yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Like everything boils back down to that, you know, fucking but like yeah.
Not like he's saying.
No, it is. Yo, it is, but it isn't. You know what I'm saying? Like it is, but it isn't. Like it isn't because like white males are concerned that like black males are gonna rise up and be the lords again like they were in the Middle Ages, because that didn't fucking ever exist. Right?
Exactly.
But on the same point, you know what I mean? Like, yo, he's not wrong that it is about fucking race as a whole. You know what I mean? Because like, you know, fucking it's a stupid fucking thing. And you know, like, but the ideology that, you know, I mean, they threw like a black dude in there, you know what I mean, is to sell more fucking movies. Like, that's what the fucking shit was about. It ain't got nothing to do with throwing motherfuckers up. But, you know, let's keep rocking because, like, shit gets more interesting. Hang on.
Like, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby made the X-Men. I think it was Jack Kirby, but they made the X-Men.
Throw off what the intent of the film was actually about, which is to show that the so-called apes represent black rulership. But you don't want to make it that apparent if you had all three white astronauts. All right?
That typical sci-fi movie that's about the future.
Again.
Yeah.
How the human race is out of control. Yep.
You see, she's more concerned about the so-called human race because she's a globalist, like most liberal females are, particularly liberal black females. Like I said, the liberal black female, for those of you brothers who always want to put the female on a pedestal, the so-called liberal black female is like a triple agent. She's a globalist. She's a fake racialist, meaning she gets involved with racial issues only when it suits her or when it can assist her in getting attention. But her number one personality is that she is a mega feminist. All right, that is her main alter ego, is as a mega feminist. So her job is to always try to talk down the black man so-called black man, whenever he comes to these revelations.
All right, yo, look, you there?
Yeah. While it may be true, I mean, she's not wrong about sci-fi. As a fan of sci-fi, most
no.
Let
me say this though, right? Yo, he's not wrong about women.
No, he's not wrong about a lot of women. He's not wrong about that.
Like yo, legitimately, it's globalist, fucking racialist, and feminist.
Yeah.
Right. And this is what I'm saying. Like, yo, he got it figured out. Like he's fucking crazy.
He me though. Like, he's right on some aspects, and then he just takes a turn left, and the God knows where in the boonies, bro. Like, sci-fi, she's right though. So they're both right. That's the weird part.
Right? Like, yo, but like, yo, they're like, yo, he's absolutely right about this shit. And like, he's more like, here's the thing, he's more right than almost anybody I've ever heard about that.
I've heard that actually a lot.
I've never heard anyone literally put it that simply that women have three alters, right? Where it's, you know what I'm saying, the fucking globalist, the racialist, and the feminist. I've never heard anybody just straight break it down like that to the point where it's
really?
Like, yeah, I've never heard anyone go to that level where you just go, bow, this is what it is. Other than
a lot of channels and a lot of dudes I speak with on offline as well, like we talk about this shit all the time.
I've never heard anyone put it that succinctly.
Huh. Interesting.
Have you ever heard anyone put it that fucking succinctly?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never heard anyone say that shit. Like, ever. Like, even out of all the MGTOW motherfuckers, any of that shit, I've never heard anyone put it that basically.
Interesting.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Kevin,
like,
do you listen to any Kevin Samuels?
Not really.
He actually he's got a lot of funny and really great because he educates a lot of women on the value of men. But yeah, he talks about some of this shit all the time, actually.
Right. I mean, like, but I'm just talking about like the basic ideology of being able to understand shit. Like, yo, because I like having, you know, me, I'm like an Edward Bernays guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Machiavellian. You know, like I like being able to have the tools to be able to go, wow, like that's exactly what the fuck that is, and being able to pick it out and you know what I mean, like just go, oh, you know what I mean, fucking like that's what they're saying. You know what I mean, it's not really like you know because motherfuckers say some shit and then they don't. You know what I mean, like you're not telling the fucking truth about things. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you got to be able to, like, decipher what the fuck, you know what I mean, like, the news and shit is saying as a whole, or what they're trying to push, what the aspect is they're trying to, you know what I mean, stand here and move forward with. And, like, this is a beautiful mentality to really be able to sit here and, you know what I mean, have. So, all right, let's keep rocking, though.
To make him feel like he's crazy. That's her role in this conversation, is to try to talk down Chris Rock. Make him feel like what he's saying is a figment of his imagination. All right. It's like I've said before, a lot of you brothers, you should watch a film Arnold Schwarzenegger did almost 30 years ago called Total Recall. And I liken the so-called black female to the character, the so-called liberal black female, to the Sharon Stone character in Total Recall. Her job was to keep Arnold Schwarzenegger's character asleep, keep him comfortable. All right. He didn't understand that she was a paid agent whose job it was to make sure that he stayed in his delusion. Once he started to snap out of his delusion, he saw that she was trying to kill him as much as everybody else. All right. Does that mean every so-called black female is the enemy? No. Just the so-called liberal black ones that embrace the propaganda of this society. All right. They are not your allies, brothers. Once again, you are behind enemy lines, not them. All right. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to talk about racial issues only when it will get them attention or when it directly affects them. They are not concerned with the overall thought process that it takes to overcome the issues that are actually pertinent. All right. So, but now let's get back to this conversation.
Yo, and that's a beautiful ideology too, as well. Right.
And he's not wrong because I deal with that on damn near a daily basis.
Yeah, we all
talk about. I was talking about this all pretty much last year, so yeah, I feel it.
I mean, like, and I love the way he puts, like, because he talks about the Black Lives Matter movement, right?
Right.
And I love the way he puts that shit too. He calls it the Black Lesbian Movement.
In some ways, it is very true. As one who deals with some of the individuals, and trust me, and a lot of the dudes of the pretty much ostracization of a lot of the men, pretty much any man who stands up, including black dudes, especially black dudes. But that's a whole deeper conversation.
Well, it's not though, right? It's not like that's the exact same conversation we're having right now. Right. I mean, that's what this is really about. In the end of the day is the fact that, like, you know, when you start standing here and looking at shit and, like, for instance, Black Lives Matter, what's it about? It's about black dudes getting shot by the police. Well, why are they pushing transgender issues and, you know what I'm saying, fucking, like, and standing here pushing, like, you know what I mean, black women at the front of the goddamn fucking line? Like, why is it every time you see, like, Black Lives Matter on TV, it's not a dude?
This is literally some of the critiques myself and some, including some women, actually. A lot of us who are on a great involved with this shit. This is literally some of the conversations we're having, actually. So you're
like,
right.
Why does it say they want to end the patriarchy on the fucking website?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yo, because they can't end the white male patriarchy. It's not about white people.
Right.
It's about black people. Why are you trying to end the patriarchy? Like, yo, you're literally trying to take the male out of the fucking family.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yo, and this is like, what
most people don't understand historically, if you understand how chimpanzees and other primates work as well, this is what people don't understand when it comes to matriarchies or patriarchies. It was women. If you were talking, which I don't say we have either a matriarchy or patriarchy for a lot of reasons, but if you look at patriarchies throughout history, it was because of women. It wasn't because of men. People that think it was because of men, no, y'all don't understand history and sociology or anthropology. It wasn't men who pushed for most of this shit.
Well, the reason we had chivalry as a whole is because women were property.
I feel you. I feel you.
You know what I'm saying?
When you say property in which regard, because property can be broken down in a few different ways.
Well, they were property. You know what I'm saying? They were literally the property of another dude. And if you disrespected a female, like you were disrespecting the property of another male. It was literally like a neighbor looking out for your house. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like if a burglar was trying to break into your fucking house and shit. That's what chivalry was really about. It's because females were not motherfucking like human beings. They were property as a whole, right? And today, when they're no longer property, when, you know what I'm saying, when they're their own entities and doing whatever they want, they still want to have this chivalrous fucking shit happen to them. When that doesn't work, if you know what I'm saying, they're not, you know what I mean, like they're not attached to a dude in that manner.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they were considered to be precious property. They weren't considered to be like, you know, just, oh, like, you know, like I own you, like I own my pencil. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they weren't able to be thrown away. They were something to be developed and, you know what I'm saying, loved and cherished. You know what I mean? On that type of level. But it was not something that, you know what I mean, you know, where you were an equal part of the fucking household as a dude was. You know what I mean? Because the dude was responsible for the household.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
But, you know, the age of chivalry, what a lot of people mistake, because I could go into the Victorian era when women were running households while the men was away. Like chivalry and stuff involved with the aristocracy. It's funny that they're bringing up this patriarchy and shit. What most people don't understand is social, and you know sociology, social statuses and stuff amongst the working class and the poor. The shit that most people saying is not reality. The shit that people don't understand, how Hollywood and different shit, they look towards these celebrities and these, because I remember you doing a video on Lady Gaga, right? Yeah. People look at aristocratic natures and they're like, oh, you know, yes, in those social circles, but that's not what you're normally doing. And most people, you're not going to interact with. You're going to interact with the rest of us, not the elites. So a lot of women don't understand that. They're living in fantasies. And a lot of dudes fall for the fantasy too. They're like, oh, I'm just going to get all this money. Yeah, probably not. I hate to break it to you.
I mean, like the whole thing is fucking patently retarded. And that's kind of like where, you know what I'm saying? Like this shit here is, you know what I mean? This is where I go with this dude. I'm like, oh God, he got it figured out better than almost anybody I've ever heard. But he's fucking batshit crazy.
That's kind of what happened.
Like
Van Gogh, great artists, great scientists, great inventors, almost in every single field. Great, if you want to go quote unquote, great rulers, great fighters. Almost all of them, like I always say, there is a thin line between genius and insanity. Most great geniuses go insane.
Well, no. Like here's the deal. All right, so like here's the problem. All right, and Einstein I think said this. He said, "Smart people sound crazy to dumb people."
That too.
Like, and that's kind of where things get down to. Smart people sound like fucking, you know what I mean, crazy people and idiots to dumb people. Right? Because, like, yo, your brain is not wired on the same level. Like, your brain is not wired on the same level as a motherfucker with 170 IQ. It just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, for us to stand here and, like, you know, I'm not going to put myself in that genius level at all. You know what I mean? Like, for us to stand here and be able to understand somebody who's super fucking smart, like, and that's why, like, me and, like, a lot of these really, really intelligent YouTubers don't get along, is because, like, yo, they sound like sociopaths to me. You know what I'm saying?
As one who, and this isn't toot my own horn either. I excel in most forms of academia. I'm kind of a bridge dude because I'm in both the abstract and the concrete. I'm good at both.
Well, you have a culture is a thing.
True. That is very true.
That's the difference, right? It's because you're a human being and you're relatable as a human being to other humans, right? Whereas a lot of these individuals who are super smart don't have any cultural background. Like, they have nothing else to really relate to other fucking people with.
And a lot of them, honestly, they do suffer from psychopathy and sociopathy. I'm not diminishing or saying they're inherently evil people, but this is true. When you look at psychology, a lot of people in positions of power or who strive, because in order to achieve great things, just like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, you kind of, in a lot of cases, have to be obsessed with achievement. Tom Brady at 40 plus is still playing football at a high level, relatively high level. Why? Because he's obsessed, which isn't always like, it's good for achievement for men, but it's not the healthiest thing. It's a Batman problem.
Well, like here's the thing, like so I mean, it's always great sacrifices made by individuals. You know what I mean?
Correct. Correct.
You know what I mean? Like are fucking driven to that level of obsession. You know what I mean? That's not a bad thing as far as shit's concerned. But on the same point, you know what I mean, you have to understand that those sacrifices are made. Like Tom Brady has no idea what a good slice of pizza tastes like.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because he's never
time
had
away
one.
from his family and more. Like that's the kind of stuff that I was talking about earlier, is that people do not understand the sacrifice. It's like the question of poverty. Most people don't understand what true poverty really looks like, and what occurs with that. Carjackings, bodies in the streets, and more, which you know what I'm talking about. The thing is, in order to protect against that, people got to be willing to fight, or people got to be willing to die as well. And I'm not just saying for wanton, that's just reality. You talk about the state of nature. Well, in order to build and achieve, you have to sacrifice time, effort, energy, resources.
You're not wrong.
It's very, very simple, but a lot of people don't want to go into the economic and the logical aspect, which you talk about all the time on your channel.
Yeah. I mean, well, like you have to have that economic conversation, but on the same point, and this is important for people to understand, is like, all right, so China. All right, China's a good example of this. The reason why China stands here and drives its economy the way it does is because they want people employed, right? Because when people have jobs, they don't go on long walks to go destroy the government. Right.
And they're less dissatisfied. There's less depression.
Well,
usually.
No, they're like, the thing is like, all right, so if you have a job, like, you have a place to be. If you don't have any place to be, that energy is going to be driven towards the individual that, you know what I mean, they feel like took away your place to be.
Also, when you're slaving away and you're grinding, you don't have the energy to revolt.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Right? Like, and this is why I'm like, automation's a dumb idea, because you're going to end up having massive amounts of people who have all the energy in the world to overthrow your shit the moment they become dissatisfied.
Well, it's always a balance, right? Like we keep talking about, all things are balanced, because at one point, automation, it does have its pros. The problem is it's supposed to aid. What it also does, the cons, though, it displaces. You go back to the first industrial revolution in Europe during the 18th century, right?
Right.
What happens? All the kids who were born, because, kids pass on property, you had free labor, et cetera, right? Well, now instead of 10 men, you have 3 or less, or 1 man. So all they now go into the cities in order to try to find work. Well, this increases poverty, this increases unemployment, et cetera, et cetera. It's always a balancing game.
Well, and again, I get back to that automation conversation, right? Like, if you stand here and displace massive amounts of workers, you're going to have massive amounts of civil unrest, because individuals, you know what I'm saying, are going to revolt. It's that basic. You know what I mean?
Oh, what we have here today. Imagine that. This is the shit I was just talking about this kind of shit yesterday, actually, at a quote-unquote Amazon strike march. Quote unquote. It was some liberal bullshit. But I was just talking about this, and some homies know exactly what I'm talking about. Because it doesn't go both ways, because people want free services, but then they're like, we want actual living positions, and and like I say, I actually do listen to what the stuff you say, whether we come to the same conclusions or not. I pick up great information, and I'm like, bro, just like the whole immigrant, and I was actually just talking with a homie about that yesterday, like the whole immigrant, it's not what people think it is. It's not people are anti-human. It's like, bro, you only have it's finite resources. You're adding in more people, and they want the cheap labor, and you're gonna have people out of work, bro.
And not just that. Like, look, all right, my city is hood as fuck. All right, you've seen my city. You've seen pictures of it. It's garbage. Do you know what a 1-bedroom apartment is going for in my city right now? A 1-bedroom?
1,300.
Yeah.
That's the same here as in Seattle, or worse. It
Or
can go
worse.
anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000. I know I live it.
Right, like yo,
A
and here's the thing.
studio
Here's the thing, like yo,
It's rape
yo,
out
as
here.
as a regular worker, you're not finding a job for over fucking $17-18
Thank
an hour.
you.
How are you going to
Thank
afford
you.
$1,000 a month in fucking rent?
And here's the problem. Even if you can do that, right?
And like, yo, hang on, wait, but this is the immigrant
Yeah.
issue, though, right? So like, yo, the
Right.
more people you drive into these fucking cities, and more people you drive into the places where there is places to work, the more competition there's going to be for fucking housing and
Thank
basic shit. And that's the point that I get down to with motherfuckers. I'm like, yo, look, I'm not anti-immigrant. Like, yo, I love everybody. Everybody knows this.
Exactly.
Like, I'm Tom Pease, you know me, nigga. Like, yo, I stood up for fucking furries and shit. Like, yo, like, that's not the deal at all, right? Like, I love people, right? But, like, the point is I'm like, yo, bruh, like, yo, we can't keep fucking living in this manner because there's just not enough fucking shit. And there's not
And
the
here's
economic drivers that keep building homes.
And here's another aspect about it, because one of the dudes I was talking about, he's a part of what I would consider street youth, under 21 on the streets for a variety of reasons, right? And he understood what I was talking about. Oh, okay, you bring in more of these people. Well, the social aspect, what about the supposed disenfranchised and the actual disenfranchised people, right? The
Right.
people that you supposedly are supporting. What the fuck about them? Y'all aren't even addressing their issues, let alone if you bring in a whole other people, because other people who don't even speak the language, who don't, but then you give all this assistance, and this is where, and I'm not a nationalist, you know that, but I can vibe. I'm balanced. I'm a realist, right?
Yeah, you're a pragmatist in the end of the day, right? Like, we
Exactly.
understand exactly
Like,
how shit works, and you go, well, if you
They
add
get
one and one, it
benefits
equals
that
two.
I don't. I'm always in within the cracks of any time within a couple months could be homeless. I'm always in that kind of situation. So I live in a different world than most privileged people.
Right.
So the issues that you talk about, labor and shit, I live and I know too many people who live it.
Yes. Right. And
So
like,
people don't
and like, so
understand
like,
it, man.
what you're doing is you're literally like, yo, you're standing here, you're bringing in more people, which drives down the cost of labor, and then you're rising the price of fucking house. Like, yo, and then on top of that, you're expanding
And
the
then
money supply to
food.
pay for more welfare for this shit.
And then the food, that's another thing. Besides housing, food costs. No one wants to talk about food costs.
Well,
And we
like,
ain't
yo,
even going
because
into
yo,
medical and all that.
because food costs is pretty stable as far as shit's concerned. Right.
This is true, but here's the thing. While it is stable, but this is what I'm talking about, levels of privilege, and people don't understand this. While it's stable, if you're struggling paying for housing, that probably means you're struggling paying for fucking food.
Yo, like, here, the one that fucks me up is transportation.
Exactly. That's another part that I bring up. I bring up all these because this becomes a 30-minute to 2-hour conversation I end up having with people because they're not introduced to this real shit. In fact, a young lady, it was one time I was just chilling outside of Starbucks getting some Wi-Fi, like about a couple weeks ago, and she, I ended up talking to her about the whole Corona situation, blah blah blah, COVID and all this bullshit, and I'm like, folks don't understand. She's like, wow, thank you for that reminder of the dose of reality. It's because most people aren't attached to this shit. They're in this digital hoopla. It's like all this online shit on Discord. I'm like, y'all don't know what the fuck. Like, fucking go out into the streets. Y'all talking all this shit. All right, if you got a better way of doing shit, fine. Come out here. I would love you. Please help the world be better.
Like, and that's
But y'all
kind of,
don't.
yeah, that's kind of the whole point, right? In the end of the day, like, that's really what it's hitting for, So, like, I mean, and like, for instance, like right now, Pops is struggling, you know what I'm saying? And like,
Right,
yo, I got
right.
kids and shit to feed. But on the same point, I paid $15,000 for an automobile for him. You know what I mean? And I'm carrying the
That's
insurance for him and shit. You know what I'm saying? And like, I got to put food in his fucking cabinets and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like, yo,
Right.
like, I get it. Like, I fully understand. Like, it's not like I'm fucking disattached from like the regular fucking folk. I mean, like, I just got done buying a car for my girl because I wanted to get a decent car. So, because we're having a baby in fucking May and shit, right? You know what I mean? And
Right.
so I went and I got a decent car. It was $30,000.
Exactly.
Right, because
Exactly.
I'm looking around for a car for $5 or $6 grand, because I was like, you ain't finding a car for $5 or $6 grand.
You're going to get because a homie bought one for, I think it was around 2,000, I think, and the only way you're getting that, it's going to be over 150,000 miles. Facts. It's just not gonna. You're not gonna get.
Well, like,
much
I went
for
and
5,000.
looked at a fucking Trailblazer, a 2000, and I want to say 7 Trailblazer, right?
Yep.
Yo, legitimately, like the gaskets were falling off the fucking doors and shit, and like the fucking paint was fucked. Like it sounded like a lower end was about to come apart of the motor. You know what I mean? Like you had like the crank guides were fucked,
bro.
right? Like they wanted 5,800 for it.
They're out there damn mind.
No, that's normal out here.
Tom, you know the funny thing? I think I ended up either texting or shared on Facebook like a year or two ago. It was because I was reading an old Question comic, just like his first appearance in the 1968 or something, right?
Right.
That version. And Charlton Comics. And the reason I bring this up is because they were showing ads for different stuff. Guess how much the car was fucking going for? It was like a new Dodge Charger or some shit.
How much?
Guess how much? Like $1,600.
Yeah, that's not bad.
You see what I'm saying? And the cost of like eggs and milk and shit was like 10 cents and shit.
Oh, you talking
This
about like
is
back?
1968.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Fuck yeah. I mean, like
50 some years, man. Come on, bro. That's crazy.
Well, think about
50
it.
some years.
Yo,
That's it.
Yo, think about it like this, right? So like, I could get an apartment 10 years ago for $500 a month, right? You can get an apartment. You can get an apartment in the city in here for like $350. Right, real
Thank
shit.
you.
Right, and like today, it's like $1,000 to $1,200 a month. Do you think the pay's kept up with that?
No.
Like yo, because I was making $11-12 an hour back then, all day, like easy. Like I would $11-12 an hour is what you made. Like I remember in 2010, 2011. I had 3 jobs, right? My first one I was making 17. My second job I was making 12, and my third job I was making 10. Right. And fucking like my first job, I was I was doing logistics. My second job, I was working on a dock, and my third job, I was working at a pizza shop, right? And you know what those fucking pays for those jobs are today? Yo, the same fucking money.
Exactly. I know because I work those kind of shits. You know the funny thing about it, I compare shit, and again, I'm not that old, right? And I look at it twofold, right? I always say grew up kind of lower middle class. Now we didn't get everything, but we you know, my parents would sacrifice and we survived. 2 points. One, I remember growing up, and I knew people, minimum wage jobs, they could still survive. And more than survive, they still put their kids through college, you know, they're in school and stuff, right? As well as my dad, $40 to $50,000, you know, as he got older, right? Now, get that. Right. That was me growing up within the last 3 decades. Within the last decade, me trying to work and shit. Bro, part of the reason I moved is, and one of the biggest parts is economic opportunity. Because my ass was busting my back from anywhere from $8 to $11 and barely making shit for survival, bro. Survival. We're not talking, and people are like, oh, you need to save, you need to do this, you know, stock market, boom, boom, boom. You can't. You can't fucking afford housing. You can't fucking afford shit. A chick who's interested in me was we were just talking about possibly eventually getting a spot in. If she moves out here, I was like, do you have the money? Like, people don't understand how much shit really costs, bro.
Yo, I fully the fuck get it. All right. Now we're gonna listen to a little bit more of this, and then we're gonna fucking shut this motherfucker down because I gotta go pick up my kids. So like, yo, let's rock and roll.
I feel you. I got shit to do.
Yeah. She's trying to dissuade him from the understanding that the Planet of the Apes films are actually about race and about the Caucasian man's fear of black rulership. She says it's about the human race against apes.
Yeah, it's about race, but the human race. No. It's about the white man's fear of a black planet.
You see that? The so-called black man understands what the film is about because he understands, once again, he is the enemy, not her. All right. Now, I know a lot of you brothers don't believe in the Bible, but when you read Exodus, the 2nd chapter, keep in mind, what did Pharaoh say? He said, kill the male children. Let the females live. Okay. The female child is not a threat. I don't care how strong a so-called, that's why I laugh at that nonsense about the so-called strong black woman. I laugh at that sentiment about the black woman as God. You cannot be a God if nobody's scared of you. Nobody's worried about that. The word God means power. All right. All this stuff is about is the disempowerment of the so-called black male. You keep him disempowered by keeping him confused. You make sure that he stays confused by making sure that the so-called black female feeds him information that is disinformation or misinformation. All right. But Chris Rock's character sees through a lot of the sentiment of the films, and we're gonna go through the Planet of the Apes series most likely in the Chronicles at the movie series, because it's very, very blatant.
Yo, like, he's not wrong.
Well, a few things I would say where historical context, because I know about it's the same thing with Christ, the same similar thing with Moses. The thing about male children or males in general, the uprising, because women are wired differently, socially and otherwise, hormonally, and for the home and such, and the nurture, generally. But men will rise up and be a threat. This has been a thing throughout history. Secondly, I'm just looking at her versus Chris Rock. This is on the street. I can just tell I wouldn't date that kind of chick, just being honest. And just looking at how she presents